Yo. Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. I'm a headliner.
Yo, Headliner Nation, what is going on? Welcome back to the Fantasy Headliners. Kyle here to talk a little bit about the next great fantasy football superstar. Now, I have got 4 guys in this video that are going to be taken in the upcoming 2022 draft, and every single one of them have an opportunity to potentially become one of the next great fantasy football superstars in their rookie year, but it's going to depend upon some things, including landing spot. So these are 4 guys I really haven't had a chance to talk about on the channel as of yet. As you know, I've done some rookie stuff, but this is going to give us an opportunity to kind of dive into 4 guys that I haven't really dove into yet on the channel, and to talk about why they could become the next great fantasy football superstar, and why you might be wanting to keep an eye on them in your upcoming rookie drafts or your upcoming redraft leagues to get a little bit of value for 2022. Now, again, everything can change. We still have the draft coming up, so these guys could land in potentially awful spots that don't really give you a whole lot of upside for 2022. We'll discuss all of that after the draft is done. But before I jump into these 4 players, I got to remind everybody that if you head over to manscaped.com and use code word headliners at checkout, you're going to get 20% off all of their great products, plus free shipping. Teaming up with Manscaped again this year. If you need to get yourself prepped and ready for beach time this summer, going through Manscaped is one of the best ways to do it. But my first player that we are going to talk about is going to be a guy that really, depending on what kind of community you're in terms of football talk, you're either really high on him or kind of, not super excited. But for me, it's Bryce Hall, Iowa State running back. This is a guy that a lot of people really firmly believe is the running back one in this draft and has a chance to be an absolutely great football player. Now, I think Bryce Hall could be very, very good. And I've got another running back actually listed right after him that we're going to talk about. But Bryce Hall, to me, is a guy that closely resembles David Montgomery, just not being able to make any type of a, significant contribution in the passing game. Bryce Hall has some tendencies in the passing game that just don't translate well, that he would really need to clean up if he's going to become a dignified pass catcher at the next level. He's a guy that can run you over. He can break tackles. He can make you miss. He's one of those guys that is going to give you that quick jump cut at the line, hit the hole, and burst through it. He may not make a ton of people miss at the second level, but at that first level, finding that hole, he has good vision to be able to do that. And the reason I have him going to the Buffalo Bills, which may or may not end up happening, is because for Bryce Hall, for me to really become that guy, somebody that's going to make an impact right away as a rookie, I think he needs to fall into a team's game plan that already has an established offense that has plenty of weapons around them. Bryce Hall, to me, isn't a guy that's going to win on his own. Like, you've got these running backs in the NFL, right, that they can just do things on their own and an offense can run through them. I don't know if Bryce Hall is quite at that level because of his inconsistencies in the passing game. He is a guy that complements a really good offense where he has an opportunity to get to the second level. Because you have so many weapons around you, it's going to leave some holes and it's not going to allow people to stack the box. Again, one of his best abilities is that first cut at the line, finding that hole and exploding through it. However, if you've got 8 guys in the box and they're taking away some of those holes, you take away really his greatest asset, because even if he uses that cut to find a hole, there isn't necessarily always going to be a hole there. And when you take away his best ability, all of a sudden at that point now, you're rendering him as more of a complimentary back. He could very quickly become a guy where if you're not giving him open space, he's not going to really give you a whole lot in return. Again, I like Bryce Hall. I think he is a lot closer to David Montgomery than other backs. And not just saying that because it's another Iowa State running back, because that's truly who he is. Just the inability to make a big contribution in the passing game. So falling into a team like the Buffalo Bills, where they're going to be a pass heavy team and he could take advantage of really high utilization in terms of his efficiency, that's going to be great for Bryce Hall. That right there could allow him to become a guy that right off the bat could give you 900 yards on the ground and secure you somewhere in the area of 8 to 10 touchdowns. So the problem is that the Bills may not be looking to draft a running back in the second round, basically where Bryce Hall will probably end up going, because they just brought in, I mean, my man Duke Johnson, right? J.D. McKissick was a yes and a no. You've still got Devin Singletary, who absolutely lit it up at the end of last year, and then Zach Moss, who is not a good running back, okay? So there is an opportunity, but again, there's other areas that Buffalo might be looking at and saying, no, we need to go with this guy or this position or something along those lines. So for me, Buffalo's a great fit. I think it might be a little bit of a stretch that they actually do end up taking him now, but we'll see how that ends up turning out. Now, the reason I brought up at the beginning of talking about Bryce Hall that I had another running back that we were going to talk about, because this is my RB1 in the draft, and that is Isaiah Spiller, running back out of Texas A&M, because Isaiah Spiller reminds me of Joe Mixon, just like a little bit below him, though. Not quite the game-changing ability that Joe Mixon has. Not really a guy where he absolutely dominates in all areas of the game, but he is a guy that's going to be very, very good in all areas of the game. He's going to be able to catch the football. He's going to be able to make people miss at the line and at the second level. He's going to have some of that burst to get away from people. Isaiah Spiller, to me, is a more true 3-down back than what Bryce Hall is, and that is why I've got Isaiah Spiller being a best fit for like Atlanta or Houston, because they are going to an offense that may struggle a little bit more or may end up having to say, hey, you're our guy. He's going to have a little bit more ability to help out on worse teams. Bryce Hall, to me, on a worse team, doesn't spell nearly as much success as Isaiah Spiller does, because I don't think Isaiah Spiller is going to be as reliant on the factors around him that Hall will end up being. Because Spiller, again, some of those check down passes, those routes that you're running out of the backfield, some of those swing passes, he's going to be able to utilize those well. They're going to be able to check down to him, screen passes, running him over the middle of the field, maybe even putting him out in the slot a little bit and getting a little bit, strategic with your game plan and mixing things up. You can do that with Isaiah Spiller. Isaiah Spiller's got power to knock you down, to run you over, to make you miss, to break tackles. He has the ability to do that. He's got good vision at the line. He's got patience at the line too. Okay. You give him the ball and you're going to see his mind quickly work, really pinpointing where that open area is going to be. Hesitate for a second, boom, find it, and then go. He's not really going to have that same jump cut that Bryce Hall will be, where it's really a north and south type of situation where he's going towards it, he hits the jump cut, and he keeps going. Isaiah Spiller is going to hold off that millisecond there, hold off that half a second, see what opens for him, and then take the best route. So it's a little bit more of that patience that I see with Isaiah Spiller that I really, truly believe could make him a really good running back and a really good fit for a team that needs a little bit more offensive help, that may not have the ability to put somebody in the backfield that could end up being a little bit more one-dimensional. Isaiah Spiller in Atlanta, obviously we're looking at Marcus Mariota being the starter there. They're going to have to rely on the run game a little bit. Cordero Patterson, we've got him there, but let's work him in and out like we did last year. Let's not truly keep him as a full-time running back. Last year, Cordero Patterson did the best when they were moving him around and doing some unique plays with him and really putting him in situations to win. As the year went on and he got more and more carries as a running back and he became strictly more of a running back, that's when you saw kind of his numbers start to go down a little bit. So get yourselves a true running back, a guy like Isaiah Spiller that can play down there all the time, and then you can do some unique things, shuffling him in and out, Cordero Patterson in and out of the backfield, putting him in the slot, putting him at wide receiver, doing some different things with him in the screen game, allowing him to utilize all of that talent. That's where Atlanta could end up winning. And then obviously with Houston, you've got Davis Mills there. You've got Brandon Cooks. You don't have potentially as much. That's kind of weird to say. Potentially as much potential. But you don't have as much potential there as you do, I think, in Atlanta in terms of some of the playmakers that you see. So, I think these teams are going to end up drafting some wide receivers. Atlanta's really going to need to take a look at one. But I think in that division, if you can put up some points, then you're going to have an opportunity each and every week. And that's what Atlanta's going to need to focus on is getting some more playmakers in there on that side of the football and really putting themselves in a chance to win every single week and the ability to score some points. Isaiah Spiller will do all of that. All right, my first wide receiver I want to talk about, Chris Olave, wide receiver out of Ohio State. Man, this guy absolutely dominated. Absolutely dominated because it's funny. All right, let me take just a quick step back here before I go on because I was going to say he dominated the combine. This guy 2 years ago, okay, let's say after 2020, was looked at as being a guy like, hey, this is going to be the wide receiver one in the class. Like everybody seemed to be talking about it, and a lot of people seemed to be on the same page when it came to that. And then last year, Ohio State ends up having 3 wide receivers that just have excellent seasons all around. You see Garrett Wilson end up emerging as a true top back. You see other guys in this draft class start to emerge, a Traylon Burks and things of that nature. And now all of a sudden, Chris Olave kind of gets overlooked a little bit, and it took just a speeding 40 at the combine for people to be like, oh yeah, Chris Olave, this dude is an absolutely excellent wide receiver. Now, I've got 2 wide receivers here that I think that can break out right away. And as you know, if you've watched anything on the channel before, I've still got Garrett Wilson as my number 1 wide receiver in this class. Chris Olave is very, very close to him, though, and I really like Chris Olave. There's some differences, though. I think Olave is going to be a guy that stays on the outside more and ends up becoming more along the lines of like a Terry McLaurin type of player. Somebody that can win down the field, but he does have different areas of his route tree, but not like a guy like Michael Thomas where you see him not really excel down the field, but they utilize him more, in those slant passes, things over the middle of the field. Olave's got the speed to absolutely win on the outside. It's a little bit different than the next wide receiver I'm going to be talking about. But the best fits for Chris Olave for me, 2 of them are just right off the bat, no duh, Kyle. I get it. Kansas City and Green Bay, right? But I think mentioning Michael Thomas, I think going to New Orleans would also be good as well. Because for me, I would like to see Chris Olave join a team that has a guy that does accelerate at some of those, that does excel at some of those routes over the middle of the field, potentially leaving Chris Olave some one-on-one opportunities on the outside. If you do that in Kansas City, now you've got him on the outside. You've got Marquez Valdes-Scantling on the other side. And then you've got, obviously, Juju Smith-Schuster in the slot. That's going to give Chris Olave a lot of room to win on the outside. For Green Bay, that's going to be an option there for him as well, depending on what they do at the wide receiver position in terms of bringing somebody else in. Chris Olave on the outside, then you've got some guys that can win over the middle. Of course, you got to keep an eye on Aaron Jones there. Robert Tonyan is back as well. Allen Lazard is still going to be there. So we'll have to kind of see, after Devontae Adams moving on from him, what does Green Bay do at the wide receiver position? Chris Olave on the outside with Aaron Rodgers could really end up being a great fit there. He kind of comes in and fills that Devontae Adams role where some of those passes, like those back shoulder passes you see down the field, Olave can win those. And then with the Saints, again, mentioned it with Michael Thomas a few minutes ago. You got him on the opposite side. He's the guy that can win over the middle, really drawing the attention of the defense that way. And then Chris Olave can win on the outside down the field. He's a field stretcher to me that has a really nice route tree that's going to be able to do a whole lot of everything. But when you give him an opportunity to win on the outside with that speed, it's going to lead to some big plays. Now, a little bit different is another guy on the outside. It's USC's Drake London. But Drake London, to me, is more of a guy that you take a look at as like a possession type receiver. He's really not going to be a burner on the outside of the field, but he's going to be one of those alpha guys that's going to run a really nice route tree, that's going to make people miss with his footwork a little bit, and that's going to lead to some bigger plays. Drake London, to me, is a guy that I believe has the ability to be that alpha a little bit quicker than what Chris Olave will. Drake London, let's say if he were to go to Chicago, if he were to go to Detroit, those are big time weapons on the other side of the field away from some field stretchers, right? In Chicago, you've got Darnell Mooney on the other side. Drake London would be a great complement on the other side of him. Again, a possession type receiver, a guy that can win at the point of the football, that can go up and get those passes. That's excellent right there for Drake London. In Detroit, you've got DJ Chark on the other side, Josh Reynolds. You end up putting Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot, and now you got a guy that's going to win on the outside, because with those guys on the other side, you've got your field stretcher, you've got your guy there that can win over the middle of the field, TJ Hawkinson, that can win all over the field, and then you put a guy like Drake London, who's going to get a lot of one-on-one opportunities. He's going to win a majority of those one-on-one opportunities with those cornerbacks on the outside. And then kind of the same thing with the Dallas Cowboys. Again, kind of filling that Amari Cooper role, leaving CeeDee Lamb in the slot, putting Michael Gallup on the outside, and putting Drake London on the other side. Really being able to give that opportunity that when you give him one-to-one matchups, because you got guys in the other areas of the field that can win, he's going to win some of those one-on-one matchups. And that's what I expect him to do, and why he could end up breaking out right away. But landing in an opportunity kind of in this area really appeals to me as being the best fit. Now, Detroit obviously would probably end up needing to come up at this point to get Drake London. A lot of people think he's a mid-first round pick. Depending on how you think about the wide receivers, it could be up and down a little bit. So Drake London, for me, would have to end up falling. Detroit would end up having to probably move up a little bit, and they could end up making it work. We'll have to see what they do, but I think getting another wide receiver for Jared Goff for now, and then drafting Malik Willis at number 2 would end up being the best road to contention over the next couple of years. And I think it would make Drake London an instant fantasy contributor, even if it was Jared Goff as the quarterback, or give him to Dak Prescott, or give him to Justin Fields, and allow him that opportunity to win some of those matchups. There you have it, though, Headliner Nation. 4 guys that could be our next fantasy football superstars. Make sure you hit the like button. Leave me a comment down below. What do you think about the fits? What do you think about these 4 players? Is there a different guy that you're taking a look at that if you're saying if he lands with this team, instant success? Let me know down in the comments below. If you're new here to the Fantasy Headliners, well then I need you to hit the subscribe button. You got to stick around. Don't miss any of the offseason content, all the draft content coming up, our live draft show the night of the first and the second round. It's going to be a great time. Make sure that you hit the follow button and stick around for that, or subscribe, not follow. Hit the subscribe button and stick around for that. But ladies and gentlemen, I am going to get out of here. Hopefully you all stay safe and stay healthy. Have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you all on the next episode of the Fantasy Headliners.
Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. Y'all stuck on third down. Your content's plain Jane. Headliners on top now. We gonna move and change. Podcast off the rip. Draft guide, so legit. Fantasy world, our game tight. You know we about that chub life. Stuck in a rut, and you need some motivation. Head to the channel for this Headliner Nation.
I'm a headliner.